How y'all doing? My name's Eric. I am one of the lead distillers here at Treaty Oak Distilling. Today and for the next hour or so, I'm just going to be walking you guys around the property, talking about the property. We're going to head over to the distillery. We're going to talk about the distillation process and how the Waterloo No. 9 gin is made. And then we're going to head over to the rick house to see some of the barrels over there to see how the antique is aged.
Oh, I think that you guys are really going to love just like the care that goes into selecting these 9 botanicals. Again, all from the Texas Hill Country, right? Which is the representation of what Waterloo is. We want to be true to that. I mean, we are the first gin distilled in Austin, guys, and we're going to show you what makes us so amazing today.
Well, it's a beautiful day. I'm glad that the weather is in our favor, but so far everything looks so beautiful, very spacious, very clean. I definitely am excited to maybe come down here whenever it's like busy. There's some more people out here just to kind of see how the crowd moves through everything, but I think it's great. I'm excited to tour the rest of it.
So Treaty Oak Distilling, we were founded back in 2006 up in North Austin. We operated out of North Austin, I would say about until 2008, 2009-ish. And that's when we acquired this beautiful property down here. So age-wise, this property is about 100-ish years old in total. These trees have been dated to be over 130 years old. We do have live music out here on the weekends. Right over here, the name Treaty Oak comes from an old tree that was in downtown Austin, that a peace treaty was signed by Stephen F. Austin and the Native American tribes. So when that peace treaty was signed, it was the actual particular tree was then coined the Treaty Oak. Back in the 80s, there was a couple who tried to poison, or it was actually a dude that tried to poison the tree. So he injected it with about 100 different chemicals trying to kill the tree. Didn't work out. He got put in jail for it. I don't know what happened to him. I think he is no longer with us, but I think he did serve some jail time. So that tree was pulsing poisonous saplings for a very, very long time. But when it was tested and the tree was no longer pulsing any of that poison into the saplings, we were donated one of the original ones to plant out here. So we got that in about 2018, if I'm not mistaken, 2019. And we planted it here, and now it's been growing there ever since. Awesome. So this is our distillery. Right now we are currently distilling No. 9 gin. Right now it's at the point where it's kind of so soft where we could literally just take a small cup, and you guys are more than welcome to try that if you want to come up here and do that. You can literally take a little small cup, get a little sample of it, and try it right off the still. And it is at 150 proof, so small sips, please. But like I said, it's not going to taste like just straight up to how you would think a distillate would taste like that. Has like a smoothness to it. Yeah. We're just going to talk a little bit about the gin now, where it comes from and all that good stuff. So all of the grains that we try to get and botanicals that we try to source do try to come from here in the state of Texas. The No. 9 gin is going to be made with 9 different botanicals, hence the name. When we were doing experimentations on the different variations, we kind of tried a whole bunch of them. We tried over 50, and we came back to No. 9 as the kind of variation that we liked. And when I say variations, what I'm talking about is like the amount of botanicals that goes into each distillation. So when we're talking about our No. 9, we have juniper. That's like one of the things that you have to have for gin, of course. We have coriander, we have lavender, we have ginger root, we have licorice root, we have anise, we have pecan, and then we have grapefruit zest, and we have lemon zest. So it's going to make up all 9 botanicals. Once we get our 9 botanicals, they're going to be whole exactly like this right here. Sorry about that. So this is all the botanicals right here before we grind them up. Yeah, absolutely. Please do. The aromas that you get off that right off the bat, like the lavender, just kind of captures you first. Like the lavender just gives it like a complete different nose than what you would be accustomed to in gins. Like if you think of gin, you think of that juniper kind of piney nose to it, but the lavender really smooths that out for sure. I would say the other most prevalent one that I can smell in here personally is the coriander, because it just gives it kind of like a spicier kind of smell to it. And I feel like that's kind of like a accommodating profile for this gin. Like you have a little bit of spice, you have the softness of the lavender, but then you also have the pecan that kind of gives it that nice soft texture, kind of a thicker mouthfeel. It's just really nice. But anywho, that's how it's going to start its life when we get all of the botanicals. We'll grind them into like almost like a super fine powder, and then we'll put them into gin bags. So this is one of the gin bags that came out of the still from yesterday. So everything that's ground up in here inside of this muslin cloth bag. Once we do that, we have our 2 windows that are on the column of the still. The 2 bottom ones, we'll remove the windows from there, and then we'll put these bags inside of there. And then the way that we'll lay them is we'll put one over here, one over here, one over here, one over here. And then we'll do that on both levels, so a total of 8 bags. We'll have a charge that we generally use. So the charge is going to be water and GNS. GNS is going to stand for grain neutral spirit. So you're just going to think of a raw alcohol. It's either made out of corn or potato. It's about 190 proof. Fun fact, if you were to take away the botanicals from the gin, it's a vodka basically. This side is always set to 60 degrees. So as it's traveling up here to vapor, once it hits that condenser, it's going to instantly turn back into a liquid. Once it turns back into a liquid, that's when it falls into our parrot and then into our collection tank. From the collection tank, we will pump it out of there into one of our totes, where we'll blend a couple of distillations together. And then from there, it'll get blended together with more distillations. And we do that just to get the kind of consistency with the flavor profile.
The barrel aged and the number 9 use the same 9 botanicals. Do you notice a difference with which botanicals shine through more brightly?
Honestly, to me, it takes on a completely new flavor profile. You are still going to have kind of like that lavender there, but it's just going to be a little bit more of a spicier lavender, in my opinion. Almost like a cinnamon nutmeg kind of like flavor profile. To me, when I taste the barrel aged, it takes me more to like a place as opposed to like just sipping on a spirit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seriously reminds me so much of just fall and fall time and winter time, and that's, I love it. It's one of my favorites for sure. I called it the gateway gin. I tried that one and it just opened my world to a whole bunch of other gins that I never knew even existed.
So what's coming off the still right now for the number 9, I think you were starting to say that's basically the base gin for all 3 of the different expressions. Either gets proofed down and into the bottle for number 9, put into a cask and aged for 2+ years for the barrel aged, or is blended with the natural prickly pear, hibiscus, and rose to get the prickly pear and rose gin. So it's all that same base 9 botanicals.
I really enjoyed number 9, and just because like a lot of people would have those really bad experiences with gin at some point in their lives, and then they would swear it off and like, I'm not drinking gin, blah, blah, blah. But you're like, no, just try it. Just try it. We're adults now. Our palates are a little bit more developed. You know what I mean? And yeah, exactly. And now you taste it like this gin in particular. It doesn't have that piney, like juniper-y, super hard, like front end to it. It's got that lavender that really makes it just so much more enjoyable. Yeah, exactly. For me, in my case in particular, this is the only way that I've done gin, was just as vapor infusion. I have seen it done with the gin baskets previously. And to me, it just takes more of those. Sometimes it could take more runs to get what you want out of it. But this one, to me, is more softer flavor profiles. It's almost like a more delicate gin than if you were using like a gin basket or something like that. To me, in my opinion, it almost tastes a little bit more harsh in the flavors than if you're doing the vapor infusion. So yeah, this is our rick house. This is where all of our bourbon, our whiskey, our rum, our antique gin is going to be aged. It's pretty much anything that we put into a barrel goes into here to get aged. A couple of things that you notice when you first walk in here is going to be the smell. Y'all feel free, please walk in, look around. First thing that I noticed personally was the smell. I absolutely love the way it smells in here. I love coming in here. It's great. So a couple of just notable things about our rick house. So you'll notice that a lot of our barrels are on pallets as opposed to the racks. One reason, or a few reasons that we do that, is just because we feel that there's a lot more contact with the liquid on the barrel. If it's standing straight up, you only have the dead space, which is on top, as opposed to the dead space, which is on top, as if it's laying down. So we like to stand them up instead of laying them down. Another reason for that, those racks cost about $200 a piece, whereas a pallet costs about $8 each. So cost efficiency. Another reason, when you're riding around here in a forklift, it's a lot easier to pick up these pallets than it is to get some of those racks. So it's just efficiencies, and also for the aging process is some of the reasons why we do that. We do have the barrel aged gin that is inside of here. This is where it's a lot of it was aged. We denote it by writing the A. Well, we used to put A and T on it for our barrel aged. We gotta think of something different for that, I guess. But yeah, comes in here for a minimum of 2 years, and then this is where it lives for a little bit until it's dumped and bottled. They're 53-gallon barrels. They're going to be a char 3 on the inside of them. So that's pretty much all of them. First use also. Try to get all the way to the top. When you are filling it, like, it's almost instantaneous when the wood starts to take on some of the liquid. So it'll be a little bit more. It'll be like 53.8, 40, 54. Yeah, it just depends for sure. This one was actually sitting, it was standing up like this. So this is a side cut. So this is a stave. We're just going to think of this as one of these pieces that's right here, right? So you could see the char line that's on the inside right here, that kind of like darker line that's right there. But then on top, it's going to have that kind of lighter stripe. That lighter stripe is how deep the actual liquid penetrated into the wood when it was taking its breaths. So each time it gets hot inside of here, the barrel's going to expand. And when it expands, the pores of the staves are going to open up, and it's going to be sucking in some of the liquid into the barrel. When it gets cold, or like later on in the day or a couple months later, whatever the case may be, it'll contract. And when it contracts, it pushes a little bit of that liquid out. So that's kind of like a chemical reaction. It's just positively gaining and just releasing flavor into the liquid through heating and cooling. So each time it does that, we call that taking a breath. So each time that happens, it's taking a breath.
Yeah, so as Eric was talking about the aging process, right? And how the character changes over time. The more exposure it has is the more that barrel works as the heat and cold contracts and breathes that juice in and out. Like a bourbon, right? The older it gets, the character of the spirit changes pretty dramatically. So what we sell is a minimum of 2-year age for the barrel age, right? But we've been aging some that are 4 years old, 8 years old, 12 years old, just to experiment to see what that tastes like. So if you guys would like, you can try and see how that flavor profile changes over the years. You want to sample?
Yes, please. We already tried the 2-year inside, so then that's 4 and then 12. That's so cool.
Yeah, so this is
When we had it,
the 2-year, minimum 2-year aged. This, Charlie, one of the master distillers.
This morning.
So that's about 4.5 years old, right? So we just pulled that out of one of the barrels this morning. This, when we first acquired the brand, we found a barrel that was almost 9 years old, and we didn't know what it would taste like. And so we ended up decasking it and did some special single barrel bottling of it, and that's at 111 proof, right? So that one's 9 years old. And then Charlie also pulled today a 12-year-old, 12.5-year-old right from the barrel. Right, so I think you'll taste very different botanicals and the strength of them and what you get from the wood, from the vanilla, the oakiness that comes from the wood with the older barrel aged. So here, that's the 2-year, just to give you sort of a baseline that you can see how the character of it changes over time.
I love the way it smells. It's like almost like caramelly. It just kind of reminds me of like wanting to be in front of a fireplace. I don't know if that has a smell. That's what this is. Okay. Smooth.
Right there, you see sort of that evolution of the aging of the spirit and the evolution of the brand too, right? From the old original brand package and antique to the new Waterloo barrel aged.